Welcome, theater addicts. My name is Raya Jean, and I'm outside the Cultch about to see Precious Little, a play written by Madeline George and produced by Star Theatre for the 2018 Vancouver Fringe Festival. This is a play featuring 3 actors who play a total of 10 characters that span different generations, and it is about a 42-year-old lesbian who finds herself pregnant with an unsupportive partner. And apparently it's also a play about communication and the connections that we make when communication fails us. The Georgia Straight has called this a sneaky play. This is my last review for the Vancouver Theater Addicts team. So let's go inside and see what they mean by sneaky. Welcome back, theater addicts. Raya Jean here. I have just seen Precious Little at the 2018 Vancouver Fringe Fest. Precious Little is a play that was written by an American playwright, Madeline George, and put on by a local company, I believe they're from Richmond, called Star Theatre. This is a play that features about 10 characters. I'm not going to touch on all of them, but there are 3 women actors that play all of these characters, and these characters span generations. And what's really interesting is that the actors themselves are from different generations, so they're different ages. The protagonist, her name is Brody, and the play centers around her life. She is the 42-year-old lesbian who has become pregnant quite intentionally. She used a donor, and there is also her younger lover who is a grad student, and in fact, Brody is this student's supervisor. They're doing field work together, and the project that they're working on is working with a woman immigrant who speaks a dying language called Kari, and they are trying to capture this dying language. They're linguists. So Brody is very much an academic, and she has spent the majority of her life working on her career and building her career. At least one of the reviews that I read about this show sort of described her as somebody, as a woman who was spending her time putting career above family. And that really irritates me whenever I hear something like that, because it sort of implies that there are really only 2 choices for women, and that's really the only suitable explanation is, she was spending time on her career, and that's why she doesn't have children, which is really an oversimplification. But in this case, Brody is an academic, and she wants everyone to know it. She wants us all to know about it. So she's a linguist. She spends quite a lot of time demonstrating her knowledge. She even calls herself a scientist at one point. She is at the clinic, of course, because there is a risk of birth defects when you are a woman who is having a child, and you're a woman over a certain age, over 40, I guess. So there's a risk of birth defects, and there's testing they can perform to determine whether or not your child will be born with birth defects. And so I think we've all been in this situation where we're at a clinic or we're working with a doctor, especially as women, where we feel condescended to and patronized and, made to feel like we don't know what we're talking about. perhaps in some cases that the symptoms that we're experiencing are not real or are not as bad as we are making them sound. And, these are all very real things that happen. So, this is a play about communication in so many ways, and the way communication fails us, and the ways in which we say more sometimes by what we don't say than by what we do say. And, how our message can be changed even by a change of tone or a subtle action, such as an eye roll. Like that. That's definitely one of my trademark moves, especially when I was a teen. How body language can change the message. And even by not speaking at all. By not speaking at all, you can say so much. So, at the same time, Brody is a very unlikable character, at least I found. Thankfully, she grows as a character, but for the most part, I found her to be arrogant and controlling and cruel. I think I read somewhere in one of the write-ups for this show that Brody's partner, the young grad student, is not supportive of her. Well, first of all, this is sort of a person who is being taken advantage of. I mean, there are definitely power dynamics at play which are problematic to begin with. And I think that Brody is also using this young woman. And the young woman seems to have genuine feelings for Brody, although she is not on the same page. She's not at the same life stage as Brody is, and therefore this sets them both up for some conflict and some difficulties, which they may or may not be able or willing to deal with. The other woman, the older woman, she plays, again, a variety of characters, but the character that is the most striking is the gorilla. So she plays a gorilla, and this is the first time I've ever seen a woman play, or anyone play, a gorilla. And what ends up happening is that Brody and her young lover, they go to the zoo. Brody not only doesn't want to go to the zoo because she finds them culturally insensitive and problematic, but she also doesn't really want to go anywhere with her young lover. It's not that kind of relationship for her. So they are in the zoo and they find this gorilla who is the main attraction at the zoo because the gorilla has been taught some English words and can speak these words when certain buttons are pressed. So there's these annoying buzzer buttons are pressed, and that will communicate to the gorilla that she is supposed to say words like kitten and words like celery and so on. So Brody falls in love with this gorilla, and this gorilla was played so convincingly. I mean, I've never seen a woman or a man or anyone play a gorilla before in my life, but I was convinced. And just the way that she moved and her mannerisms and the way that she sat and the way that she held her face, was I'm not doing a very good impression, obviously, but was so convincing that I was scared. As they were approaching, and the young grad assistant wants to tap on the glass to get the gorilla's attention. I was I was ready to jump right out of my seat. I was so nervous that something was going to happen. That's good. That's great. That's exactly the kind of feeling that you want when you're going and when you're seeing live theater. You really want to feel. You want to feel scared, and you even want to feel that this character is unlikable, and you want to feel that another character is endearing. The short-haired younger actress was captivating, totally captivating on stage, and so I'm going off a little bit because there's just so much to say about this show. There's too much to say about this show. So I think what you should do is you should go see it. Definitely go see it. Check it out. And be prepared for an unresolved ending. Okay, this is about real life, and it's about, although it's bizarre, it's about decisions that we have to make, even though we think we know it all, and even though we are trying to make a logical decision because we are used to dealing with empirical evidence. Oftentimes, when there's a fork in the road, it is not obvious which direction to go. And that's just the truth. But whichever way that you do go, it's going to lead you somewhere. So it will lead you somewhere. And so that's life. So please go see this show. Let me know what you think. Please check out the other Theater Addict videos, and please comment. Please share the videos. Please argue with us if you think that, if you have a different opinion. We love that. We really want that. Subscribe to the channel. Happy fringing, and see you on the other side.